There we go. Hello, hello.
Hello, everybody.
So lovely to see faces today, and thank you for joining us on the second episode of The Business of Books. Would my lovely co-host like to introduce herself?
Hey, everybody. I'm Cachet. I write short stories, poetry, and the occasional blog post. Uh, that's me. I'm a grad student working on a cybersecurity master's, and y'all it is giving me a run for my money. So there's that.
School will do that to you. Grad school is like its own psychotic little monster, and little Miss over here is being all humble, but she's crushing it over there. And she had a fabulous horror story come out on Wattpad. Don't know if you've seen it before. There are links available. If you want to throw one of those in the chat. Oh, we've got the Naked Firefly is here. Novelist Alley. I don't know if I've seen you before. Have I seen you before, Novelist Alley? And let me know if I'm saying that name right, because I tend to mess them up. But my name is Eve Daniels, aka the Nerdy Nanny, and I am a self-published children's author. I have 6 books out, depending on what month it is. I tend to lose track. And I am also currently getting my master's, but in experimental and medical bioscience. So yeah, we commiserate over homework and professors and trying to learn via Zoom lectures, which is not the same. Not the same at all.
At all. I am not a fan of the Zoom lectures.
Oh yeah, no. Sorry, that was my end. But yeah, it is just it is a run for its money. But right now we're focusing on our writing and all of the wonderful things that we intend to conquer therewith. But being able to conquer the world with your writing kind of requires taking your writing in a little more serious direction and treating it like a business, which is what we're starting to tackle with this whole thing. Oh, yay! I did say it right. Okay. Novelist Allie, I got the name right, and she occasionally pops up on live write-ins when I get the chance. Oh, MM Ward, I saw you on Tamara's stream. Lovely seeing you here today. We were chit-chatting in the comments a little bit. And the time management stuff is hard. That's one of the things we were talking about. But you and I both touched on that in our videos, is that trying to figure out like how to get the time to have your writing. And a routine really helps with that. Have you do daily pages, or have you stopped, or are you back on the daily pages?
So I stopped for a while and I'm getting back on it. I'm trying to make it part of like the very first thing I do in the morning. So like brush my teeth, wash my face, morning pages, and then get into my day. Like I'm trying to get back to that. Mainly because I want to brain dump my words like handwritten, so that the words that I'm counting for my daily word count on my word processor are all for either fiction or blog posts. Like I don't want to include my brain dump in there, so I'm trying to transition that writing routine into that.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I know that I did something similar, but it wasn't really brain dump pages, but it really does help when you have a routine to sit down and write, because I know the time when I was the most productive, I would close out all the tabs on my computer before I went to sleep, which you and I both know can be hard, because it's like, well, I'll leave this one open because I might need it, and I'll leave this one open because I might need it. But if you can actually do that, then when you open up your laptop in the morning and all you have is your current work in progress, then you can just get right into it right away. And that was when I was most productive. But that hasn't been happening with the grad school situation. But it does make a really big difference, doesn't it, having a set routine for your writing? And I'm just wondering how many of the people who are here joining us now actually have a routine, or does it vary? Do you try to write in the morning, in the evening, or just like whenever you have time? Because I know that's what my schedule sort of turned into over the past month or so. It's just gaps between classes.
Yeah, mine has been a lot of intentional things, like being very intentional about what I'm doing. So it's like one thing that I mentioned in the videos is like I do keep to attending certain people's live streams, so that I make that a part of my schedule. So I'm guaranteed to get words in watching those streams. So it's like, yeah, I might not get a full long time, but maybe I get two writing sprints in someone's 2 hour stream. And then that's like 2 15 minutes or two sets of 20 minutes that I get in for the day. So I'm definitely on that train of trying to fit things in where they best work for you.
I like that. And that's nice because then you sort of have like a built-in accountability, you know? Because like it's like you missed my stream. Where were you? You were supposed to be on my stream. Why aren't you writing? That helps a lot, I feel like. I miss having writing friends in person, but you know, screens, that's what we have right now. Okay, so MM Ward says, call me Mama Maggie or MM or Ma, where's the cookies? I answer to almost anything. Right at 5 a.m. for an hour to 90 minutes, and then drag the teens to school and farm chores. Oh, you live on a farm. And then write during midday. That's nice. That having that block of time in the morning. I keep saying I'm going to get up earlier so that I can get my morning writing time back. I'm just I'm not used to the sun not being awake when I get up. And apparently Sweden, the sun doesn't rise at the same time that it does in Florida in the winter. So my body clock's a little confused right now. But yeah, I think for a lot of people, morning time is just when you, because maybe it's just because you've just been sleeping and your subconscious has had a chance to work through things. But it's like you get up and then words. They may not be great words, but they're words.
And that's what I do with my brain dump. Like it's just words. It's like, okay, maybe I'll write out what I'm gonna do for the day, or I write out what I dreamt the night before, or what happened in the dream that I wish I could change, or if I could turn it into a story. Like it's just random thoughts that have no real rhyme or reason, but I need to get them out so that I can focus on what I need to do for the day.
Yeah, I think that helps a lot too, because I know by the end of the day, if I try and sit down and write in the evening, it is like pulling teeth for me. But some people are night owls and that works fine for them. I do think it's about trying different things though, because a lot of times you feel like you have something that works for you and then things change and you have to adjust and you go, oh, well, actually, it turns out I'm a lot better if I write, I don't know, before lunch or after lunch, or if I read through my previous work before I start writing again. So trying different things out, like I would love to be able to do one of those full day writing experiments like Kate Kavanaugh does, but I don't have a full day to just be like, I'm going to try writing like someone else, see how it goes.
Yeah, no, I think I love those experiments that she does. I think also it's very important to make sure that you are doing what you need to do as far as getting everything set for you schedule wise. So, like for me, there is one day a week that I'm guaranteed to stream at night, and I'm going to write at night because I have my Thursday night live streams. Most of the other time is during the day, but on Thursdays, writing at night works best for me because of everything else that I have to do. I think it's important to note that your routine doesn't have to be the same every day. You can have a weekly routine. Like there are different ways that you can do that. And I think the biggest issue that some people run into is that they feel like they have to stick to the same thing all the time. And if they don't stick to the same thing all the time, they're failing. And that's the biggest thing that I think I want to remind people is that failing isn't really what you're doing. You're adjusting, you're finding out what works best for you. And sometimes every morning, waking up in the morning, writing at 7 a.m. is not going to work every day.
Yeah, I think that's so true. Finding a system, not just that works for you, but and then sticking to it, but being able to adjust for real life. I feel like that's a quote somewhere like the greatest battle strategies are the ones that can actually withstand the test of the battlefield. Like when you can adapt what you're doing to make it work for you in new circumstances, that's huge. The Naked Firefly says, I have to remind myself to go to bed early so I can get up early like I used to. Oh, and Mama Maggie is saying, have you had your 8 hours of light days yet? Actually, my days here will get down to 6 hours at some point. There will be days where the sun is only up 6 hours. I'm not looking forward to that. But apparently it's good writing time, I guess, because it's dark. A character that is shocking you to the point that she distracts me from my current works in progress.
I have characters like that, and I just have to give them their attention.
Just like stage hogs. It's like,
Yeah,
I need to
I
be
just
in a
have to give them their attention.
stories, but I need to be somewhere.
Right. Yeah. I just have to give them their attention because it's like, nope, if I don't, you're going to mess up what I'm working on right now. And I don't need those problems. I don't need those problems.
I feel like that can happen very easily. Oh, Novelist Alley, I'm a workaholic, so I tend to work a lot on creating, but it's like a good addiction. I try to balance it with reading and learning craft, make sure to get 3 hours of that at least. That was something else that we talked about was that um, when you're trying to get in your words, I know a lot of people track, and however you track, you kind of need to account for everything. All too often, writers are like, I'm just tracking my new draft writing. And it's like, but as an author, you're also dealing with time spent on marketing materials and all the rest of it. And even as a writer, you're dealing with drafting, editing, and I encourage people to read in the genre that they're writing in currently. So if you're trying to factor in reading time, you have to budget that in as well. And if you only have 2 hours of the day, you can't plan to spend 2 hours writing and then just be like, oh, and I'll squeeze in the reading and the editing somewhere. It's like, no, that's called the time you were supposed to sleep, not the time where you just stay up till 4 in the morning. Because that can get very unhealthy for me, especially at least. But I get loving when you're sort of in the project and just going with it. Oh, I would love to have a day to just write.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and that for me is just adjusting your day. So on the weekend is when I do most of my reading. Like yesterday, I read about 16 chapters between three different books to get my reading in that I'm trying to do for the month. My biggest thing, and the thing that I talked about in my video that I definitely want to make sure we hit on, is proper goal setting for when you start. Because the issue for a lot of people are that they set very vague, unintentional goals, or they set really strict goals that don't fit into the parameters of their life, and they're either chasing this ever far away goal that they never reach, or they're failing at getting to this goal on a consistent basis. And all of those breed depression, negativity, imposter syndrome, things that can make your writing even more of a difficult situation for you. And so I think that is something that I definitely want to hit on, because I've just seen so many people like, my goal is to finish a book. Yeah, but like, what does that all entail? Like, to finish a book to me means that it's publishable and ready to market. There's a lot of things you got to do to get to that point. And if you're
Yeah.
not knowing what those things are and you're not dividing those into smaller chunks, that big goal of getting all the way to that published product is going to be overwhelming. Like, and
Oh, yeah.
that's not that, to me, that's definitely like, with wanting to promote balance, we want to also promote the fact that we don't want you to overwhelm yourself and put yourself in a negative headspace that keeps you from creating.
Yeah, you're so right on there. Being realistic about your goals, I feel like, is one of those things that a lot of people just as adults just struggle with, and it requires a level of intentionalism, like you were talking about before, and then self-honesty. It's like, but being able to hold yourself to that, knowing that this is good for you, this is bad. Or if you set a goal for 5,000 words a day and you're continuously failing to meet that goal and it's building resentment in you, then maybe 5,000 is not the goal that you should be working on. But yeah, it's the same thing when you're setting those realistic goals. My mother always used to tell me that you can conquer any mountain as long as it's a bunch of little molehills. But if you don't know where the next step is, you sort of have to go through them one at a time. But I think breaking down those big mountainous projects into your more manageable molehills is the first start of setting those realistic goals, because then you know sort of what your next step is. If you want to publish a book by the end of your year, and then the first step is have a completed draft of 50 to 75,000 words, depending on what genre you're in, then okay, now I need to write, I don't know, 3,000 words a day, and then start tracking that and see how that goes. But make it into something that a smaller step that you can count on. Oh, and MB Webster says hi from Prague. Oh yeah, Prague's in my time zone, right? MB Webster, is it currently 5:15 p.m. where you are? Let me know. I have such trouble with time zones and just geography. It becomes a thing. Yeah, the Naked Firefly, going through those problems right now. I have other projects to work on, but can't do much because of this one story and its hold on me. I know that feeling. I have 3 new books that I want to start working on, and I don't feel like I can because I'll end up overloading myself. And with grad school, I can't do that. I cannot afford to mess that up. So I've put them off because I'm still dealing with other projects, which means waiting for an illustrator. So you get stuck in this holding pattern, and it is frustrating, but I think it comes back to figuring out what the next small steps are, identifying those, and then just taking it one step at a time. Oh, Monroe is here. Hi, oh, Monroe. Oh. Novelist Allie, that's so true. I nearly drove myself mad when I first started writing. Yeah, it's so easy, especially when people start talking about, 10Ks and mill wordies. And if you just like dip your toe into this world and all of a sudden everyone's got like 8,000 words a day word counts, it can be so stressful to be like, oh, I wrote 400. But the thing is, it's not a comparison. Everyone's doing their own race with their own goal. So figuring out where your goal line is and then pacing it out, because it's a marathon, not a sprint. Da-da-da. Heart Breathing's channel has fantastic content for goal setting. People keep talking about Heart Breathings, and I don't know if I've ever seen any of their stuff. I feel like there's so many people on YouTube that I keep just discovering new people. So I'm writing that down. Heart Breathings. Have you seen any of their vids?
Yeah, I know them more as like a planner channel than anything else. Like a planning, the bullet
Like the
journal
Ujo
planning.
kind of stuff?
Yeah, like the planner stuff. Like I know she has like a planner like that she sells and a course to it and stuff like that. But that's all I know her for.
Okay, I'll have to check it out. This year I devote 4 hours a week on promoting and equal editing time for writing because I waited until story 9 before I started editing one series. That's a big problem. I've been there when you're like really far in and then you're like, oh, right, editing. But
So
I think that's really great.
This brings us to something else we wanted to talk about, which was when you're getting started with writing, finding critique partners, because having critique partners helps you with this process. Like a lot of people I've seen in AuthorTube don't go through the critique partner process, just write it and go straight into beta reading. And beta reading, to me, should be what you do after you drafted more than once. That first draft is going to be rough, and you don't want to waste the one. It's hard to get beta readers that are actually going to finish beta reading your stuff, not that are going to start it, but are going to make it all the way to the end and give you feedback on it. So you don't want to utilize that feedback at the wrong point when it's stuff that they comment on that you could have had time to fix had you read it with a critique partner, had you went over it a second draft. So those are things that I think that are very crucial to have, and that comes with building community and finding a community to be a part of.
Yeah. I miss I used to go to those groups, that always met up at Panera, and you'd bring 3,000 words and everyone would go in a round and just read each other's things. Having critique partners that you know personally, though, and that you're in a regular group with can help so much. And I like having more than one, but it's a little more complicated for me because I don't have critique partners that are adults. I just abduct my friends' children and then tell them little bedtime stories. And if they get bored and wander off, then I'm like, well, that wasn't a good kid's book, apparently. But it is a huge step. And all of that stuff is different, having a writing community, having critique partners, being able to workshop beta readers, and that's all different steps. But yeah, definitely having someone you can read through it is phenomenal. But I just want to say, Mama's got, she was saying that she's spending equal time promoting and editing. And I love seeing that. I love when people factor promoting time into their schedule, because people tend to, you know how it is. People take their marketing time and they're like, oh, I can do that whenever. No, that's like 4 hours of work you have to do, like per week, depending on what you got going on, or per month.
Yeah, but I guess this is kind of where I have a different train of thought on the marketing than you do, because I'm still looking at it as a writer. And to me, when you're still writing and working on those drafts, you don't have that much to market. Like you do, like your time would be better served drafting something to be able to market it later and better, in my opinion. Now, when you are an author and you have things that are completed that you're trying to sell, yes, marketing needs to be equal parts of something in your daily schedule. It definitely doesn't need to take the back burner. But I think that what I have seen in the writing community via YouTube is that a lot of people are marketing themselves but have nothing to show for it. So it's like, yeah, you're getting people to watch your content and watch your channel, but they're coming because they want to see a finished product, aka a book, aka a story, aka a novella, those things. And when you're so focused on, I'm gonna show the writing, the part of writing as far as like just myself, it's like great, but how are you showing yourself as a storyteller? Because people don't just fall in love with authors, they fall in love with authors' words.
Yeah,
Like
and
that.
I think that's so
Why
true.
that's why she should who should not be named causes such a big thing, because people fell in love with her words over her. And so now they're having to deal with that. And so that's why I feel
Yeah.
like there should be there is promoting, there is marketing, but you have to have something to promote and to market. If you're not
Yeah,
finishing things, what are you promoting right there? Is that's just my thing that I want to make sure that the writers that are watching this are thinking about. Because if you're spending a quarter of your time on Instagram but only a fifth of your time writing, how is that helping you get from a writer to an author?
oh yeah, I see that so much too. You see people who they don't have a finished story, they're not even close to a finished first draft, and they're like, but I'm have X amount of Instagram followers, and that gets so frustrating. But I know Mama's already got a series out, a couple of them actually, I think. But yeah, that is a big difference. If you already have works out, you definitely need to set aside that promoting time as like a part of your time management. But if you don't have a story out, your promoting time is sort of, I feel mean saying this, but I feel like it's kind of like, they tell you not to invest money that you don't have. I feel like if you're a writer and you don't have a finished work, then the amount of time that you're spending on social media is sort of investing time that you're willing to lose. Because if you decide it's not for you, or if you don't finish, then that's not wasted time. But you can't invest that time as a writer without a finished product, thinking it's going to generate a yield, and then you never finish a book. And it's just like, oh, I spent the last 2 years on Instagram. But yeah, oh, MB Webster 1715. Yes, the European time. Oh, no worries. Yeah, I've been here about a month now. Oh, and Sid's joined us. You just woke up. Wait, isn't it like noon there now? No, wait. Time zones. Noonish. Yeah, okay. So Mama does have 3 published series that need her time more, and then a potential publisher for the new one, but it needs a bunch of work. And I get that. I know I need to devote more time to promoting the books that I already have out. But it's frustrating for me because I know kids' books especially sell better at, for example, book fairs or live events, none of which is happening right now. So I'll just sit here trying to figure out if Facebook ads are worth my time. They're usually not. They're usually not. If TikTok survives, though, TikTok might be worth my time. Apparently, a bunch of middle schoolers get books there. Oh, yeah. Okay, so we'll have to check out Heart Breathings. Indie-ish author plus planning goal setting. Oh, that sounds cool. I didn't So does Heart Beatings have any actual books, or is it the like planning goal setting book? Yes, critique partners are necessary, just like sensitivity readers. Yes, you need to have sensitivity, more than one. Again,
And so just a pro tip, your sensitivity reader doesn't need to be the last person that reads your book.
yeah.
If your book is about to come out and it's like a month or two before it's come out, and then you give it to sensitivity readers, you're doing the process wrong. Like the sensitivity readers need to come, because at that point you put so much work into it, you are going to be hard pressed to listen to what that sensitivity reader has to say, because you've already gone through the drafts and the critique partners and everything else. So definitely there needs to be a rational order to how you go through the different people that read your book. Like definitely think about that when you're doing that.
I think for me, it makes sense to go critique, sensitivity, beta, because I think I'd rather have the sensitivity reader.
I agree with that as well. I agree with that.
And then you can deal with different edits and
and then editing and that. Right. Yeah. And I feel like me personally, like I think that you need to be prepared to hear hard truths.
Yeah.
You just need to be prepared. Like you need to be prepared that you might have got something wrong. Like it's not a bad thing. It's okay to learn from your mistakes. It's fine to deal with that. Just be prepared that you might not know everything. Like in Jesus Never Went to College, one of the people that is in Asharia's orientation group is an undocumented student. Now, as much as I have friends that are and things like that, I'm still going to have them read for, hey, does this sound right? Hey, where I dropped these different Spanglish words in here, does this sound natural? Does this make sense? Is this okay? Because I don't want to be offensive. And I know that just because my friends are okay with it doesn't mean that everybody or the general audience of that group is going to be okay with it. So when you're looking at sensitivity readers, please understand that just because they're your friends doesn't mean they're going to be a good sensitivity reader. Because your friend might let you say things that people in that general group are not okay with. So definitely, I feel very strongly about sensitivity readers. So I do apologize if it sounds like I'm ranting, but I just think that there needs to be a few things that you take in mind once you begin that journey. And like I said, like for me, I know I'm gonna get something wrong. Like I know I am, because I am not an undocumented person. Like I know that I don't know that experience inside out. So I know that I'm going to have someone else read this for me and tell me, how does this work? How does this make sense? Is it what it needs to be? So yeah, again, critique partner, sensitivity readers. Yes, all of that.
Check them all. I would even say, I think you need a couple for all of those stages. You need to have a thick skin and be prepared for brutal, because you would rather have your critique partner or your sensitivity reader tear it apart than your book get published and it get ripped to shreds by the public. But the other thing is, I would even argue that I don't think you should use your friends as beta readers and sensitivity readers. Like, I love my friends. I love them enough that I know they're not going to be completely honest with me if they think something sucks or is wrong. My friends are, I know my friends well enough to be like, they're going to let me slide on too much.
Oh, see, that's different, because my friends they ain't going to let me slide on nothing. They be like, so about this garbage you just sent us, you know, you can't say that, right? Where are you going with this story? Did you think this through? Like, I have those friends. Like, they're not gonna let, like, okay, so funny story is, I had like a lot of people say like they liked Penelope's Curve, the first draft, and it was like 2,300 words or so. Mm-hmm. My boyfriend gutted the hell out of Penelope's Curve. He is the reason it is over 5,000 words. He was like, so why did she do this? I don't think this makes sense. I mean, I've read it, and I mean, I think it's a good story. Don't get me wrong, but what is this? Where were you going with? Really? Do you really need all that? I mean, it's supposed to be a short story that's interesting, right, Cash? Okay, babe, fine. Let me just go in so yeah, no, I have the exact opposite problem. Like that, like, could you let me live? I would rather be a little nicer. And then, he gutted the mess out of it. I want to say it was like 4 pages worth of notes after a 2-hour long conversation, as he went like paragraph by paragraph reading what he thought I needed to work on. And now I
I
love
need
it.
friends like that.
I
I
love
need
it
friends like
now, but
that.
in the moment, he was my least favorite person. Least favorite person.
Oh yeah, I had a guy quit a critique group I was in because the first half of his book read like the introduction to an adult movie because her big bouncy thingies were, and she was gorgeous, but of course she didn't realize it. And the guy at the front desk, it was just like, this was supposed to be a sci-fi thriller, not an adult novel. Okay, like, please just cut this whole first chapter. And he stopped coming to group after that. So have a thick skin, but also if you are the critique partner, be aware of whether or not they have that thick skin. Even if they tell you they want you to be brutal, like maybe warn them a little bit. Oh, Becca's here. Yeah, Nick Firefly, I agree about critique partners, and I feel they'll motivate you, especially when working on large projects. I find that especially when you give them a timeline. Like if you tell your critique partner, I need to have it to you by the 30th, you better get it done by the 30th. Because if I'm just keeping to my own timetable, I tend to push back timelines. But when there's someone else involved, you got to stick to it.
And I would go a little further. And I know we said accountability partners, sensitivity readers, and beta readers, or we said critique partners. I would throw in there accountability partners because they don't necessarily have to read your work as much as they help you stay on track with what you're doing. Like, I have an accountability partner and they are in this chat, and this person is amazing. Like, every day I get a message like, this is what I did. What'd you do today? And I'd be like, did I do something? I'm not doing nothing right now, but I wasn't doing nothing earlier. But right now I'm writing and I'm at this many words. Like they get me to the point where I'm like, yes, I want to keep going because they're going. And we haven't read anything the other one is writing or working on, but we get motivated just knowing that the other person is trying to reach this goal. And for me, it makes me feel good to be like, I'm a part of this journey with somebody else, and they're a part of this journey with me. And so I think that when you are getting started as a writer, you need to have as many things to keep you positive as possible, because it is a lonely, solitary thing at times. It does get discouraging. You do begin to drag at different points of writing the story. Like, there's a lot of things that can be negative. So if you're doing enough things to create positivity around your craft, you're more likely to succeed and get to that finished product.
Yeah, I think that's hugely helpful. And to have regular check-ins with people is huge because it's a long journey, and a lot of it is so much in your own head and in your own laptop that it can be hard to connect with other people, especially now more than ever, but just in general, having that connection. Oh, yay, beta readers. Well, I have a 4.5-year-old and a fresh 2-year-old, so we're happy to beta any bedtime stories. I will be messaging you. I have 3 groups, one for each genre I write, but keeping up with reading their stuff is a day or 2 per week commitment, and I take that very seriously too. That's true. That's fair, especially if you're going to those round robin groups where you all sort of read each other's work. It's not a one-way street. It has to be reciprocal, or else it's not working for everybody.
Yeah, I generally meet with my critique group 3 days a week virtually for a couple of hours. And we each go through and read portions of what we are working on out loud so that we can hear, one, the inflection that's intended, where there are emphasis on different words that may not be able to be seen in the text. Because again, the writer reading it is going to put emphasis where they want things to be. And you want to know as a reader, like, am I getting that impression when the writer is getting that? So we make sure to do that. And then we go around kind of round robin style and like just pick it apart and just add like, hey, where are you going with this? This left me with questions. But when I tell you it is such a valuable thing, that one, it helps you to feel good because you're giving someone else feedback and you're receiving feedback as well. It's a two-way street. Like, that is one thing that as writers we definitely need to try to grow in our craft. We need that two-way street between people, because a lot of times that beta reading process, that sensitivity reader process, is a one-way street. You know what I mean? Like, it's not as much of you guys helping each other as somebody helping you. And so a lot of times, to help yourself feel better and do better, helping other people helps you.
And then you also get the dual purpose of that connection, and you sort of almost end up with more accountabilities. I used to meet with two separate groups, and I would meet with them. Both groups met once a month, but because of the way it worked out, I would be like every other week I had a meeting, and I would take the same thing to both meetings because they were two very different groups. And so you got a lot of different perspectives because it's just interesting because you take it to one person and you get one feedback, and that's great, but that's one person's opinion. You kind of need a little more than that, especially if you're gonna go to market. Ooh, Becca, I use ads for my books because I hate trying to sell my books on my channel. I totally respect people who can do it, but it makes me so, yeah, it feels very sort of awkward at first. I don't know. I think I sort of have gotten, I don't talk about my books that much. Personally, I feel like animated ads and stuff that catch kids' eyes are probably more appropriate for my genre, but I think that since I do have this platform, I definitely should be talking about my books more and less about my works in progress. But by the way, I have 6 published kids books. You could go buy any one of them right now. Also leave a review, please.
I honestly am like with you on this, Becca. Like, because so here's my thought, right? So on the YouTube channel that I have, primarily it's people who do the same things that I do, not necessarily my target audience as readers. So
Yeah,
for me, it's like I feel like once I get to the point where I'm selling books, like I will mention it on my channel, but I feel like that's not where my money is going to come from, because more than likely if you watch my channel you're probably a writer, so you're
yeah,
probably not necessarily trying to read as much as you're trying to finish your book and get your book out there. So I completely understand that. That's one of the reasons why I've been looking at how there's been other people who have started other channels and stuff like that. Like I think fan channels, which is something I heard Hard Things does have, is like she has like a business channel and then she has a fan channel that is like completely different. And to me, that makes sense for an author, and to use that one to sell your books, because at that point
yeah.
it makes sense because people expect to get ads there and things like that. It's not
They expect to
necessarily the
see
same.
it.
So I completely get that. And I think the biggest thing for me is learning how ads are changing, how people are receiving
Yeah,
the information from which they make buying choices. Like a lot more are coming from social media rather than like magazines or TV commercials and things like that. So
and it's
I
constant
definitely think
too.
that's an important thing to think about as far as ads go as well. Like you were saying with
Yeah,
TikTok.
yeah. And that's a constant process. Like for example, if my middle grade fiction was done, it's not. I have half an outline, if that. But if it was, TikTok would be a great place to advertise for middle grade fiction because TikTok is full of a bunch of 12 and 13-year-olds. But it's easier for me, I think, because whether you are my target demographic or not, you probably either have a kid or know someone that has a kid. So it's like, oh, I needed a Christmas present. I'll just go get a copy of The Girl and Her Stars, you know? So it's easier that way. Oh, yeah. So Mama's got 3 series plus Inkit. Ooh, what's Inkit? Do you know what Inkit is? I don't think I've heard of that. Okay. Oh, we have a question. So after the developmental edit, which you just started to promote because the idea is more concrete, I think that depends on what you mean by promote. If you have a platform like we were talking about as a author or a writer, or if you have a following, then I think definitely at that point you start dropping, if you have a title name, you start dropping the title name and maybe teasing a release date. But as far as like actual ads, I think that might be a little premature, especially if you're not sure like I would want to be sure if I was going with self pub or trad pub, because if it's traditional, then that contract's going to be worked out with them and they may want you to change the name. But I think if you're doing it on your own, or if you have a contract worked out, I think name dropping the title would be good, and start maybe teasing a release date. Like, by the way, it's probably going to come out next year. Keep your eyes open. But anything like sponsored is probably a little premature.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so after the developmental edit, I feel like again it does depend on when you're doing developmental edits, like what part of the process that is. I am a big fan of the like book trailers, of like cover reveals, of things like that as ways to promote it.
Yeah.
Because those don't necessarily like give out complete details about the book or anything like that, and those can still be, those are things that are probably going to stay the same by the time the book ends. I think one of the biggest things is I don't think people think about their book blurb as much as they should, because that is a
Yeah, they
great way
really
to
need
promote
to.
your book. That is a fantastic way to get people to promote your book. I know
Yeah.
for the Naked Firefly, who was in here, I was a part of her street team. And after I read the book as a beta reader, what I did as a part of her street team is I just had like parts of the back of her book blurb and made them into Canva art, and then just
Mhm.
posted them on my Instagram. Like, there are things that you could do that don't necessarily won't affect what you're doing as you're currently redrafting and editing your work, that
Yeah.
can still be put out there to promote. So I think when you're still in the drafting editing phase and you're trying to promote, I think the biggest thing to keep in mind is how can you like how to promote things that are not going to change.
Yeah.
Like the name of your character, the name of the city, the setting, that's probably not going to change. Those are things that you could easily promote and that
Ooh,
wouldn't give
character
away to
art.
anything. Say that again.
Character art. That's always
Oh,
my
character art,
favorite. When
yes.
I see character
Mood
art, I
boards,
love that. Yeah.
character
Mhm.
profiles, things like that. Those are all great ways to promote that you could do after the developmental edit stage,
Yeah.
depend like
Because
where it
those
is
things
and
are
whatnot.
set. Yeah, I think that's true. As long as it's something that's not going to change, you're fine. But yeah, again, it's probably maybe don't be spending money yet, but definitely there's ways to promote at that point. Okay, so it's sort of noonish where Sid is. Do you think social media blank space is important for new writers? What do you mean by blank
Yeah, I was
space?
gonna say, what do you mean social media blank space? I haven't heard that term before.
I haven't either. I'm wondering if it's a specific app that I just haven't noticed, or if it's that, like, I know some people will block off an hour to work on social media, uh, just in general. I don't find that very useful to me personally because I just end up staring at my screen the whole hour. I have to sort of do it when I'm thinking about the story. Uh, oh, Sid's a sucker for ads. Oh, this is the Heart Breathings lady. Okay, so she published like 25 YA books. Wow. Okay, I'm gonna have to check out this person's channel because that's vaguely insane levels of writing right there. Yeah. Oh, the thing about ads, make sure, just like what you do with your writing, make sure you get ads to get like critiqued and beta read too. My sensitivity reader gets it before the beta. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's probably the right way around to do it. Because a critique partner can see a very rough version, but you want to get that sensitivity in early. I think ads can be more fun if you know what you're doing. I struggle with Canva, so I'm getting better. Beta reading for friends is dangerous sometimes. Yes, I beta read for my friend's book, and they didn't necessarily appreciate. Yeah, that's why I generally, if you have friends like Cache, you have friends that you can trust to not be too kind to you, and also you can take the criticism. But yeah, if you're not sure, I do not test that relationship by just throwing some. So what do you think of my, that's like, no, it's very dangerous waters. I live for productivity streams for this motivation. I love productivity streams. I think I'm going to do a study with me. Yeah, I'm going to do a study with me next week because I know that like you and me are both in grad school. Kat Mosher is in college. There's a bunch of other. Isn't Sid in school? No, Sid's working. Sid's both. Sid, where
Yeah,
are you?
Sid's in school and working.
Okay, well, next Sunday I'm studying. So if anyone wants to join me on this stream studying, we'll be studying. I feel that, and I feel I become friends with all my betas who hate everything. Become friends with all the betas, even the ones that hate everything. That's I wish I could do that. I miss having real life people because getting a beta read via an email is not the same as having someone be like, okay, look, chapter 3 is crap. Becky Smith, I feel like people sometimes need two channels, one to talk writing with other writers, the other targeted at readers. Yeah. And that's why a lot of my ad stuff ends up either on social media or somewhere else. Would you ever read a chapter or story on your channel? I actually read my first kids book. So here's the thing. I started my YouTube channel mid-quarantine or early quarantine, thinking that it would be kids looking at my channel. Kids don't spend a lot of unsupervised time on the internet, for which I am glad. But it does mean that there's a bunch of kids content on my channel if you scroll back far enough, including a storytime reading of my first kids book, The Girl and Her Stars. So I've done that before. And I think that's a great way to do it too, especially if you have a longer book. Reading a chapter or a section is great for promotion. Okay, Sarah Cannon channel for readers, heart breathing for other and right. The name Sarah Cannon sounds familiar. Heart breathings I wasn't sure of. Yeah, I like the idea of fan channels. I just the videos take me so long that I don't think it's practical for me. Mood boards. I don't have a mood board, but I have a in my business plan below my mission statement, I have a you know, you usually have your company vision. My company vision kind of turned into a mood board. I basically have pictures of Mr. Rogers, Bill Nye the Science Guy, and Steve Irwin and Bob Ross with different color patterns. And I'm like, this is what I want the nerdy nanny to be. It's not exactly very business oriented, but it helps keep me on track. The blurbs kill me. I hate writing them and will beg for anyone who will write. Well, if you send me enough cake, I will write you your blurb. Also, what kind of baking are we talking about? Because like I can make brownies, but if you can do a decent chiffon, I will probably marry you. Blank space is not constantly say, look what I'm writing before the book is done because of hype fatigue. Okay, I see what you mean. Like going radio silent for a little while or focusing on other things. I think that can help. I also think that when you have people who follow your channel regularly and you do go radio silent, that creates a little bit of like what's happening kind of interest, you know, especially when a channel that's big goes silent. But I think your channel has to be big for people to notice. I know a girl on Twitter and Instagram who hyped her book for 2 years and now no one is interested because they already know. Yeah, don't give away more than you're willing to not have your readers pay for.
Yeah, that goes back to like knowing what is good about your book to promote and share and like that type of things. So like I talk about Asharia, I say that she's a dancer, and I say that the book is to make sure that you understand that conservative and Christian don't mean the same thing. But other than that, yeah, I don't know what the book is about.
No, and that's really good. So we've got a name, we've got characters that we're already getting attached to, and you know I expect to see some nice cover art when you get some. You know.
Oh yeah, no. That is what I'm excited for, that cover. Like, cause I already have in my mind what I want it to look like. So like, I'm super duper excited for that. So yeah, but no, I definitely think that. I think that when you are a writer and you're using social media, I think that it should be equal parts you writing, equal parts your personality, equal
Yeah.
parts of what you are doing in your craft. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the story, but oh, that you're writing, oh, that you're reading, oh, that you're studying, those type of things, so that you can still have content, but you're not overselling or overdoing your story, so that you don't have the problem that M. Ward brings up with the person oversaturating their audience for 2 years. This is also why I personally encourage working on multiple projects, because then you have multiple things that you're teasing, and then there isn't no necessarily that for 2 years you've only been talking about one project because you've only been working on one project.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Give the sizzle, not the steak. I like that. That's good. Yeah, it does make a big difference. And I think social media is one of those things that takes everyone a little while to figure out. So I think that's something that we're going to have to do a whole workshop on at some point. It's just social media, finding the right platforms for you and your genre and your demographic. And oh, I got distracted by cake. And words, stop looking at cake. But But yeah, finding the right fit for you. You know, I have the attention span of a squirrel. Um, Yes, so we need to do a social media stream at some point so we can help people, because I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with, is finding the right fit and then figuring out what content to put out there without having that oversaturation problem, because that is tricky, and that is something I'm still in the process of figuring out. And I think it's something that you sort of develop as you figure out how you want to present your work and your brand, which is something we'll get into more next time, right? We're going to talk more about like branding as
Yeah, branding, marketing, like getting started as an author.
yeah.
So things
So
to
we'll
think
be
about.
doing that one next time.
Yeah,
And
so that'll
then
be next month.
yeah, that'll be in October. That's the 16th, right?
I believe so. That's the day that I have on my calendar.
Yeah, so the 16th, we'll be doing our next collaborated video series. Before we get going, if anyone has any other questions, make sure you pop them down below so we can get to them. And then I think the last thing I want to get into is before we do next time, because next time we're going to talk about marketing and branding. So before you get into that, you kind of have to figure out the why you're writing. And that's harder than it sounds and also easier than it sounds, because I put a little Google Doc up, and one of the things I asked was that if you were never able to write again, but you could, and then choose two. So become famous, become rich. First of all, if you're writing to get those two things, I think you might be a little in the wrong profession. But also, like, why are you writing? Are you writing to share a particular story, to educate people, to connect? And when you can figure out why you're writing and why that matters to you, you sort of have a touchstone. You know, you have a way to focus what you're doing and what you want to represent. Like, I know my why is I want to help kids, specifically with education and lifelong learning and encouraging an interest in STEM. It's why I write kids books that have either educational content or increase emotional intelligence, or just, you know, fun stories to help them keep their curiosity alive. So that's my why. And because I have that and I know why I'm doing this, I can center not just my work on that, but also branding and marketing. And that's something that we'll get more into next time. But I do think that helps, is knowing why you're doing this, aside from the times when it can get rough.
And I think so. I love doing this with you on the fact that we are so very different in things. So my why is I do want to get rich and make money off my words, but I have a different why for each story that I'm writing. And so for me, so with Jesus Never Went to College, my why is I want to challenge how people look at Christianity and raising children. I want to start a conversation. So that's why I'm writing that book. Penelope's Curve. Why? I wanted to challenge myself because I don't like ghosts. I do believe in them, but I don't like them. Like, I don't want to play with them. I don't want to talk about them. Like, keep your ghosts over there. So the why was to challenge myself to step out of my comfort zone and write something that made me uncomfortable. And so I think that even if you don't have this grandiose why, because like the only other general why for my writing is I want to change the world with my words. But that is a very big thing, right? That's a very big thing to think about. So even like in a smaller context, think about why you need to tell that story. Why you need to tell that story is going to keep you trying to tell that story. So just like what you were saying on the grander scale, thinking out on a minor scale as well. Why do you need to tell this story? Why does this character need to be that way? Those whys will get you from the first draft to the final draft.
Yeah, and I think that's especially true when you're writing longer books or when you have multiple projects, and especially when you're first starting out. I think it does shift. It shifted for me a little bit after book like 3 or 4, because I had the small why with The Girl and Her Stars. And it was because I was that nerd that was interested in science. And of course, I'm the only girl at all the science clubs and all the rest of it. But it makes such a big difference. Oh, we were getting some whys. I just want to entertain. It's why I read books, watch TV and movies. Storytelling is a very important part of human nature, I feel like. Oh, Mama was saying that I started writing as part of my stroke recovery, and overcoming has become part of my personal brand. It's very personal to me. I think that's really great too, because you can tie so many different things into it, and it connects you with your readers on such a very deep level at that point. My current set of stories came from still loving fairy tales as an adult and being pregnant. First child, I wanted to share a story of love and homecoming. Oh, now I want to snuggle babies. I like kids. People taking different paths to overcome similar situations. Some overcome, some succumb, and they always have the choice to become better or bitter. Ooh, I love that. I like that a lot. But yeah, I think whether it's on a small scale, whether it's why this particular story, or whether it's why for me right now, or whether it's why in the context of Cachet changing the world and me turning small children into nerds. It's when you have that, it makes the bumpy bits easier. Because there are bumpy bits. Like we've been talking about, this is not a sprint, it's a marathon. It's a mountain with many molehills. And as long as you can tackle them one little bit at a time, it makes everything just a little bit better and a little bit more manageable. But I think we are just about out of time here. So, Miss Cachet, would you like to say goodbye to the lovely people?
I sure would. So, hey, everybody, I'm Cachet. I write short stories, poetry, and the occasional blog post. The takeaways from today that I would like for you guys to remember is just how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. You have to take these things into smaller chunks to get to that finished end product. So think about that when you're setting your goals. Think about that when you're looking for critique partners and sensitivity readers and beta readers. Those are just things that I definitely want you guys to think about as you continue as a writer, and even as you are, if you're already an author, going through that, because there are so many different ways in which that can help you. So I'm just glad to be here. Can't wait to see you guys next month on my channel for the workshop and where we're talking about getting started as an author. So thank you guys so much for being here.
Yes. And as always, my name is Eve Daniels, aka the Nerdy Nanny. I'm a self-published children's author. I have 6 books, all of which are linked down in the description. And I make videos about trying not to lose my mind in grad school and the fact that I've recently relocated to the lovely country of Sweden in the middle of a pandemic. It's all fine. But yeah, definitely how you eat an elephant, one bite at a time. And then as you're setting those goals, make sure you set healthy boundaries and that you manage to take care of yourself, okay? Because you can't conquer Mount Everest if you are sacrificing yourself to do so, okay? So thank you all so much for coming. As always, we love seeing you here. Our next set of videos will be getting started as an author, and we are going to be talking more about branding and marketing and all of that stuff on the 16th of October. And then we'll have the workshop on the 18th over on Cachet's channel. And I pointed in the right direction. And thank you so much for being here. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.